Hi, thanks for joining us for this month's results from the Ag Economy Barometer survey. I'm Jim Mintert, Director of the Purdue Center for Commercial Agriculture, and I'm going to present to you the results of the November survey of 400 farmers nationwide with respect to their attitudes and perceptions of what's taking place in commercial agriculture today. The November 2018 Ag Economy Barometer Index dropped slightly to a reading of 134 compared to 136 a month ago, so very little change. That puts us back pretty close to the level we were at this time last year. If you look at the index of current conditions and the index of future expectations, there was a very small decline in the index of future expectations and virtually no change in the index of current conditions. If you look at those from a longer-term perspective, the index of future expectations is back in the neighborhood of where we were last spring before the trade disruptions hit U.S. agriculture. The index of current conditions remains well below where it was last spring. So conditions in the current environment are a little worse than they were last spring. Future expectations relatively strong, pretty much back to where they were last spring. If you look at some longer-term questions, in particular the advisability of making large investments in machinery and buildings, we've seen another improvement there. That index bottomed out 2 months ago at a reading of 42, improved last month to a reading of 52, and then improved again this month to a reading of 56, suggesting that people are a little more willing to make those longer-term investments than they were just a couple of months ago. That index remains below where it was last fall, for example, and below where it was last winter. If you look at farmland price expectations, both in the 12-month ahead perspective and the 5-year ahead perspective, we saw some improvement. The percentage of farmers expecting higher farmland prices in the next 12 months increased from 12% to 17%. But at the same time, the percentage of producers that expected lower farmland prices increased as well from 17 to 22%. So a mixed reading 12 months ahead. If you look at the 5-year expectations, those did rebound pretty substantially. A month ago, just 21% of producers in our survey expected to see higher farmland prices 5 years out. This month's survey put us back closer to where we had been for many months prior at the 50% mark. The percentage of farmers expecting lower farmland prices 5 years out dropped from 23% a month ago to 9%. So a significant improvement in optimism relative to last month in the 5-year outlook, more of a mixed outlook on the 12-month survey. As you think about some of the positive information we've garnered, I think it's important to remember that farmers are not telling us that conditions are very good out there. In fact, when we asked about equity positions and expectations about whether or not that would improve, diminish, or stay about the same over the next 12 months, 44% of the farmers in our survey said they expect equity to actually decline over the next 12 months. So that suggests the conditions out there are still very challenging for many farm operations. Periodically, we've been asking people for their expectations about agricultural exports, and so tracking that over a period of many months now, you can see an improvement there. People are expecting an increase in exports over the next 5 years. 66% of the farmers in our survey this month said that they expect to see an increase over the next 5 years. That compares to readings last summer and last spring in the high 40s. The percentage of farmers expecting exports to actually decrease declined again to 10%, and again that compares to readings in the high teens, low 20s last spring and summer. So an improvement with respect to expectations about trade, which is a little bit surprising given the current difficulties we're experiencing in the trade arena. Given the challenging price environment, and particularly the declines in soybean prices, we continue to focus on what people plan to do with respect to planting intentions in the spring of 2019. So 30% of the farmers in our survey this month said they plan to reduce their soybean acreage in 2019 compared to 2018. Those are farmers that planted soybeans in 2018. That compares to 19% of them a month ago that said they plan to reduce their soybean acreage. And then we asked a follow-up question of those farmers that plan to reduce their soybean acreage in 2019 versus 18, how much do they plan to reduce that acreage by? And 69% of them said they plan to reduce their soybean acreage by more than 10% compared to 2018. We asked another follow-up question of those that plan to reduce soybean acreage, what will they devote those acres to? And overwhelmingly, they said they plan to plant corn on those acres. Roughly 2/3 of the respondents in the survey said that they would switch soybean acres to corn. with the remainder divided among winter wheat, spring wheat, and other, which is probably a reflection of just uncertainty about what they plan to plant on those acres in 2019. Finally, we've asked people a little bit about the Farm Bill. Of course, Farm Bill legislation has been heating up here following the Thanksgiving break. We asked whether or not they're concerned about the fact that a new Farm Bill legislation has not been passed by Congress, and 75% of the respondents in our survey said that they were either very concerned or somewhat concerned about the lack of a new Farm Bill. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out over the next few weeks as those discussions continue to take place in Washington. That wraps up our survey results for this month. If you want more details, those are available at our website, purdue.edu Ag Barometer. The next Ag Economy Barometer will be released on January 8th. And of course, we have our next Ag Outlook webinar from the Center for Commercial Agriculture coming up here in just a few weeks on December 19th. For more information on that, just go to the Center for Commercial Agriculture's website, which is purdue.edu Commercial Ag. Thanks for joining us.